Imagine you're sitting in a room full of people, all talking at once. Some are speaking in a loud, excited tone, while others are murmuring quietly. Now, in the middle of this chaos, there is a calm, silent space around you. You're not saying anything, but your presence feels stronger than any of the noise around you. Why is that? Why do we sometimes feel more powerful in silence than in speaking? How often do we speak without thinking about the impact our words can have? Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment and regretted it later? Or maybe you've been on the receiving end of harsh words that stayed with you long after they were spoken. We've all been there. Words can shape our relationships, our mood, and our very sense of peace. Think about the last time someone spoke to you in anger, or when you let frustration spill out in a conversation. How did it make you feel? Chances are, it left an imprint on your mind. The truth is, words are powerful. They can heal or hurt, uplift or break, depending on how they are used. And in Buddhism, there is a deep understanding of the importance of right speech, a practice that calls for mindful communication. Now, take a moment to reflect. Do you ever speak without considering the consequences of your words? When we talk, we often don't realize how deeply our words can affect others. Silence, on the other hand, can bring peace, clarity, and wisdom. Welcome to this video from Wisdom Woven, where we will explore the power of silence and why it's crucial to be mindful of the words we speak. In the next few minutes, we'll uncover the first of 10 things you should never speak with others, and how each of them can shape your life in ways you never imagined. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. There's so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribe. Please help us grow by subscribing, and don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's dive in. Unmasking the ego. How boasting blocks inner peace. The first thing to understand about boasting is how it rises from a need for validation. Imagine this. You just accomplished something you're proud of, and the excitement bubbles up inside you. You want to share it to tell others how great it was to hear their praise. But here's the thing. Why do we feel the need to say these things out loud? What is it within us that craves recognition? The ego, in many ways, is the root of all boasting. It whispers to us, telling us we are not enough unless others see us as successful, as important, or as worthy. But as we begin to understand the nature of the ego, we see it for what it truly is, an illusion. The ego feeds on recognition, but never feels full. No matter how many compliments we receive or how many times we boast, the need for more only grows. In Buddhism, the ego is often referred to as the false self because it is not the true essence of who we are. The true self, the self that is connected to the deeper, wiser part of us, does not seek praise or recognition. It does not need to prove its worth. It simply is. So why then do we feel this urge to boast? It comes from fear. Fear of being overlooked. Fear of being insignificant. Fear that without praise, we may not matter. But the truth is, every time we boast, we distance ourselves from the peace that lies within. We shift our focus outward, toward the approval of others, instead of inward, where real peace can be found. Imagine the opposite. A person who achieves something great but doesn't feel the need to shout it from the rooftops. Instead, they remain quiet and humble, allowing their actions to speak for themselves. This person understands that true value does not need to be announced. The peace that comes with knowing you are enough, just as you are, is far greater than any fleeting praise. When we boast, we are not only feeding our ego, but we are also creating distance between ourselves and others. Think about it. When someone constantly boasts, does it make you feel closer to them? Or does it create a sense of discomfort, even envy? We all know the person who seems to always have something to prove. But when we let go of the need to boast, we allow our true nature to shine through. We invite connection and authenticity. The act of boasting often comes with a sense of superiority. I did this, so I'm better than others. But Buddhism teaches us that all beings are interconnected. There is no better or worse. We are all walking the same path, striving for the same inner peace. The need to boast comes from a misunderstanding of our place in the world. It assumes that we are separate from others, when in reality, we are all one. Let's take a moment to think about how we communicate with others. How often do we slip into boasting, perhaps without even realizing it? I was the best at this, I achieved that, or I'm the only one who can do this. These words separate us from others, creating barriers where there could be connection. True strength, true wisdom, comes not from standing apart, but from seeing ourselves as part of the whole. Buddhism teaches us that when we speak from a place of humility, we invite peace, both in ourselves and in our relationships. Humility is not about thinking less of ourselves, but about thinking of ourselves less. It's about recognizing that our achievements do not define us. Our worth is inherent, not dependent on external validation. There's a great peace in silence. When we do not feel the need to boast, we allow others to share their experiences without feeling threatened. We open space for genuine connection and understanding. In this silence, we also find a deeper connection with ourselves, one that doesn't require approval or recognition. We can rest in the knowledge that we are enough, just as we are, but the ego, once again, can be tricky. It tells us that silence is weakness, that if we don't boast, we are invisible. But this is a lie. True strength is in knowing that our value is not in what we say, but in who we are. When we stop boasting, we can listen more deeply to others. We can appreciate their achievements, their journey, and their unique qualities. In doing so, we open the door to genuine empathy and understanding. There's a story in Buddhism that speaks to this. It's about a teacher and a student. The teacher was known for his wisdom and humility, never speaking of his own accomplishments, but always allowing his students to shine. One day, a student asked him, "Master, why do you never boast of your wisdom?" The teacher replied, "To boast is to separate myself from the truth. Wisdom is not mine to own. It flows through me, just as it flows through you. To claim it as my own would be to misunderstand its nature." This story highlights the essence of right speech. When we boast, we claim ownership of something that is not ours to own. True wisdom, true success, is not about the ego. It is about recognizing that we are part of a much greater whole. When we speak from a place of humility, we allow the truth to shine through, untainted by ego. In the end, boasting is a form of self-deception. It is a way of covering up the fear, the insecurity, and the need for approval that lies within us. But when we let go of this need, we find freedom. We find peace. We find that we are already enough, just as we are. There is no need for validation from others, because we have already validated ourselves through our actions, our kindness, and our presence. So, the next time you feel the urge to boast, take a moment to pause. Reflect on the deeper truth within you. Know that you do not need to prove anything to anyone. Your worth is not in your words, but in your silence. Your true power lies in your ability to be present, to be humble, and to allow your actions to speak for you. When you stop boasting, you open the door to true peace and connection, both with yourself and with others. This is the path of right speech. It is a path of humility, of quiet strength, and of deep inner peace. When we let go of the need to boast, we make space for something far greater, the wisdom and clarity that comes from within. And in that space, we find the peace we've been searching for all along. The danger of gossip, words that harm the soul. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing in the middle of a crowded room. People are gathered in small groups, speaking in whispers. Their faces are serious, yet their eyes are filled with curiosity as they share personal stories about others. You may be tempted to listen, perhaps even join in, but there's a feeling that something is wrong, something unsettling about the way the conversation is unfolding. What is that feeling? It's the quiet alarm of your inner wisdom warning you that gossip is a poison for the soul. Gossip may seem harmless at first. It may appear as a simple conversation, an exchange of news, or a way to bond with others. But when you step back and truly examine what gossip does, you begin to see its true nature. Gossip isn't just about passing along information. It's about speaking ill of others behind their backs, spreading words that can hurt, divide, and destroy trust. In Buddhism, this is seen as an act of unwholesome speech, one that weakens the mind and poisons relationships. Let's consider the impact of gossip on the person being spoken about. Imagine someone you care about, perhaps a friend or family member, hearing that others have been talking about them in a negative light. It doesn't matter whether the information shared is true or not. The harm is already done. The trust is broken. The connection is weakened. This is the power of words. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back. And yet, we often engage in gossip without giving it a second thought. We may do it out of habit, or because we want to feel included in a group. It can be as simple as commenting on someone's appearance, making assumptions about their behavior, or discussing something personal about them that we have no right to share. But all of this creates a ripple effect. Hurt feelings, damaged reputations, and fractured bonds. But let's take a step back. What if we chose a different path? What if we made the decision to stay silent in the face of gossip? What if we spoke only words that lifted others up, that honored their dignity and their humanity? This is the path of right speech, a concept deeply rooted in Buddhism. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and with a clear intention to avoid causing harm. It means resisting the urge to participate in gossip, even when it feels like the easiest option. There's a story in Buddhism that highlights the danger of gossip. A man once went to the Buddha, seeking guidance on a matter that had been troubling him. He explained that he had heard rumors about a friend, and he didn't know whether to believe them or not. The Buddha asked him, "Before you speak or listen to gossip, ask yourself these questions. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? And will it cause harm?" The man, after reflecting on the Buddha's words, realized that the rumors were not only untrue, but they were also hurtful. He decided to remain silent and not spread the gossip. This story teaches us a valuable lesson. Before we speak, we must ask ourselves whether our words will cause harm. Will they create division, stir up resentment, or hurt someone's feelings? If the answer is yes, then it is better to remain silent. In silence, there is peace. In silence, there is wisdom. And in silence, there's the opportunity to reflect on our own thoughts and words before letting them escape our lips. Gossip also affects us in a deeper, more personal way. When we engage in gossip, we are feeding our own mind with negativity. Our thoughts become clouded with judgment, suspicion, and distrust. We may begin to view others through a lens of criticism, constantly looking for faults or weaknesses to discuss. This kind of thinking poisons the mind, making it harder to experience inner peace. It creates a barrier between ourselves and the truth, for in the act of gossip, we are distancing ourselves from the wisdom of mindfulness. The Buddha taught that our words are powerful. They shape the way we experience the world and the way others experience us. If we constantly engage in gossip, we are not only harming others, but we are also harming ourselves. Our speech becomes a reflection of our inner turmoil, our unresolved emotions, and our lack of compassion. To truly live in harmony with others, we must practice right speech, speaking with kindness, integrity, and honesty. Now, think for a moment about the relationships in your life. Are there any that have been strained by gossip or harmful words? Have you ever spoken about someone behind their back, only to later regret it? This is a common experience, but it doesn't have to be the way we live. The path of mindfulness invites us to let go of these harmful habits and instead choose words that heal, words that build up rather than tear down. One way to start is by examining the way we speak to ourselves. Often, the gossip we engage in with others is a reflection of the critical voice inside our own minds. How often do we criticize ourselves, judge ourselves, or speak harshly to ourselves? This inner dialogue is just as damaging as the words we speak to others. In Buddhism, self-compassion is a central practice. It involves treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a close friend. When we practice self-compassion, we are less likely to engage in harmful speech toward others. We learn to speak from a place of love and respect, both for ourselves and for those around us. In every conversation, we have a choice. We can choose to speak in ways that bring peace, or we can choose words that cause harm. The key is to be mindful. Before you speak, pause for a moment and ask yourself, will these words bring peace? Will they help or hurt? If there is doubt in your heart, choose silence instead. In silence, there is clarity. In silence, there is understanding. Gossip may seem like an easy way to bond with others, but it's a shallow connection. It's a connection built on negativity and judgment, rather than understanding and compassion. True connection comes from speaking honestly, kindly, and with a genuine desire to lift others up, not tear them down. Remember, your words have the power to shape the world around you. Every time you choose to speak with kindness, you are contributing to a world of peace and understanding. And every time you choose silence over gossip, you are strengthening your own inner peace. Let's all be mindful of the words we speak, for they're the seeds of our relationships, our happiness, and our peace. Choose wisely, speak with compassion, and always remember the wisdom of silence. False praise and empty talk, the subtle poison of pretending. In our daily lives, we often find ourselves complimenting others, even when we don't truly believe in the praise we give. It may seem harmless, but false praise or empty words of admiration can lead to more harm than good. It's easy to say something nice to someone to make them feel better, but deep down, we know it's not sincere. This is the first step toward pretending, and pretending is never healthy for anyone. It doesn't just affect the person receiving the praise, but also the one giving it. Imagine you're in a room with someone who continuously says things they don't mean. They praise you for something you didn't truly do, or tell you how wonderful you are when you both know you're not perfect. At first, you might smile, but over time, you begin to question the authenticity of their words. It starts to feel like a performance, doesn't it? False praise is like a mask that hides the truth. And the more we wear this mask, the less we connect with the reality of what's around us. The Buddha often spoke about the importance of speaking truthfully. In the Dhammapada, it says, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. When we speak words that are true and sincere, they have the power to bring real change into our lives. But when we speak words that lack depth or meaning, they become like empty vessels, offering no substance, no lasting effect. False praise can be harmful to the recipient because it creates an illusion. It makes them believe that they are something they are not, or that they have achieved something they haven't. Over time, this can lead to feelings of insecurity and doubt. When they eventually realize that the praise was not genuine, it can cause disappointment and confusion. It's a blow to the ego, and the more the ego is inflated with false praise, the harder it is for that person to see the truth of who they are. This is not the way to build meaningful relationships. True relationships are built on honesty, not on words that only serve to make someone feel good for a moment. We can see the same effects on ourselves when we give false praise. At first, it might seem harmless, even generous, to say something nice that isn't entirely true. But after a while, we begin to lose our own sense of authenticity. We start to wonder if we're being truthful in other areas of our lives. In Buddhism, there's an understanding that true happiness doesn't come from external validation, but from within. When we engage in false praise, we are seeking validation from others, but it's only temporary. It never lasts, and it leaves us empty. Think about it. Have you ever received a compliment that you knew wasn't entirely true? Maybe someone told you that your work was amazing, but you knew it wasn't your best. Maybe they said something nice about your appearance, but you didn't feel it was true. How'd that make you feel? Did it make you feel good for a moment, but then leave you wondering whether they really meant it? And did that doubt linger in your mind? The Buddha teaches us to practice mindfulness and awareness, which includes being mindful of the words we speak. If we want to be more authentic in our lives, we need to stop pretending. Instead of offering empty words to others, we should focus on offering honest, constructive feedback. Praise should be meaningful. When we see something truly remarkable in someone, we should speak about it with sincerity. When we offer praise, let it come from a genuine place of appreciation, not from the need to make someone feel better. Real praise is grounded in truth, and when we speak from that place, we are contributing to the well-being of both the speaker and the listener. False praise doesn't just harm the recipient. It harms the giver too. When we engage in empty talk, we disconnect from our true selves. We start to prioritize approval over honesty. This, over time, can lead to a lack of inner peace. The mind becomes cluttered with the desire to please others, and the true essence of communication, connection, is lost. In Buddhism, right speech is one of the steps to enlightenment. To speak right is to speak truthfully and with intention. When our words are intentional and true, they have the power to heal and uplift. But when we speak without sincerity, we create distance, not connection. It's important to realize that when we speak falsely, whether it's praise or anything else, we are not only deceiving others, we are also deceiving ourselves. We become so caught up in what others want to hear that we lose touch with our own feelings and values. In Buddhism, self-deception is seen as one of the greatest obstacles to spiritual growth. We can only grow and improve when we are honest with ourselves and others. False praise is a form of self-deception because it encourages us to focus on what we think others want rather than on what is true. Moreover, empty talk can also lead to a sense of disconnection. When we speak without sincerity, we're not truly engaging with the person in front of us. We're going through the motions, speaking the words that are expected of us, but not truly connecting on a deeper level. This lack of connection can cause feelings of isolation. We crave real, meaningful connections with others, but when we engage in false praise, we build walls instead of bridges. True connection comes from sharing honestly, from speaking the truth as we experience it. When we offer praise, let be genuine. When we speak, let be with purpose. If we cannot say something true and meaningful, sometimes it is better to say nothing at all. Silence, as we have learned in previous parts of this series, is a powerful tool in communication. But when we do speak, let our words be sincere and kind. Let them come from a place of truth, not from the desire to please or to mask our insecurities. The more we practice right speech, the more we begin to understand the true nature of communication. We realize that words have power, not just to create change in others, but to change us as well. Every word we speak has the potential to shape our thoughts, our actions, and our relationships. When we speak truthfully, we align ourselves with the flow of life. We become authentic, and in that authenticity, we find peace. And that peace is far more valuable than any temporary praise or empty compliment. In the end, the true value of speech lies not in what we say, but in how we say it. And how we say it depends on the honesty and intention behind our words. If we can remember to be mindful of this, we will find that our words carry weight, not in the way they sound, but in the truth they hold. Speaking in anger, how harsh words echo in the heart. Imagine a moment when something triggers you. Your heart races, your fists clench, and words begin to form in your mind, ready to burst out. The impulse to speak in anger feels strong, almost overwhelming. But have you ever paused to think about what happens after those words leave your mouth? Anger is a powerful force. It rises quickly, sometimes without warning, and in its heat, it can feel like the only thing that matters is expressing it. But when you speak in anger, something happens beyond just the words. It's like throwing a stone into a still lake. The ripples spread far and wide, reaching places you didn't intend to touch. Those ripples are the emotions and reactions of others. They echo in their minds long after the words are said. And the truth is, those words hurt more than we realize. In Buddhism, there's a deep understanding of the mind and emotions. Anger is not something we're meant to suppress, but rather something we are meant to understand and transform. Speaking in anger, without reflection, is like giving your emotions the steering wheel of your life. And when anger is allowed to drive, it will always lead you somewhere you don't want to go. Think about the last time you spoke in anger. Did it bring peace or resolve? Did it fix anything? Likely, it only made the situation worse, leaving a trail of hurt feelings and regret. Anger clouds our judgment, and when we speak in that state, we do not see clearly. We react instead of responding thoughtfully. The moment we speak, the words are out of our control. We cannot take them back, no matter how much we wish we could, and the damage they cause may linger for much longer than we expect. It's important to remember that speaking in anger does not only harm the person we direct it towards, it also harms us. When we speak harshly, we are also creating negative energy within ourselves. It's like carrying a burden in our heart, one that weighs us down and poisons our own peace. Each angry word is like adding a stone to that burden, making it heavier and harder to carry as time goes on. Buddhism teaches us that the mind and the heart are closely linked. When our mind is clouded with anger, our heart is clouded too. Anger takes away our ability to act with kindness and compassion. It makes us blind to the suffering of others and, most importantly, to our own suffering. When we lash out, we forget that every person we encounter is carrying their own burdens, their own struggles. We don't know their story, their pain, or their fears. And yet, in moments of anger, we may speak to them in ways that add to their weight, making it harder for them to find peace. So, what can we do when we feel anger rising? How can we break the cycle before the words leave our lips? The first step is to pause. Give yourself a moment to breathe. Even if it feels difficult, take a step back. Allow the initial wave of anger to pass, and then consider the impact of your words. Will they bring healing, or will they cause more pain? More often than not, when we allow ourselves that pause, we realize that speaking in anger is never the solution. In that moment of silence, we may also come to understand that the root of our anger isn't the person in front of us. It's something deeper inside us. Anger often stems from fear, insecurity, or unmet expectations. Recognizing this can help us transform the anger into something more constructive. Buddhism offers the practice of mindfulness as a tool for calming the mind and heart in moments of emotional turmoil. By becoming aware of our emotions without judgment, we can begin to separate ourselves from them. We are not our anger. We are not our emotions. They are temporary states, like clouds passing through the sky. If we can learn to observe them without getting caught up in them, we can find a sense of peace, even in the most challenging situations. When we are mindful, we begin to notice the signs of anger before it fully takes hold. We feel the heat in our chest, the tightness in our throat, the rush of thoughts demanding action. And at that moment, we can choose a different path. Instead of letting the anger spill out in harsh words, we can turn inward, find our calm, and then speak with intention and care. This doesn't mean suppressing our emotions, but rather acknowledging them and choosing not to let them control our speech. There's a saying in Buddhism, right speech brings peace to the world. It reminds us that how we speak can create harmony, both within ourselves and with others. When we choose our words carefully, we contribute to the well-being of everyone around us. On the other hand, when we speak in anger, we only add to the noise and confusion of the world. It's important to remember that we are not powerless in the face of anger. We have the ability to change how we respond to it. In fact, the more we practice mindfulness and self-awareness, the more we can prevent anger from dictating our actions. Speaking with kindness, patience, and understanding can transform not only our relationships, but also our inner world. We create a space of peace where we can connect with others without the barrier of emotional turmoil. When we speak in anger, we often forget the power of silence. Sometimes, the best response to a difficult situation is not to speak at all. Silence can be a profound form of communication. It allows us to gather our thoughts, calm our hearts, and decide what is truly worth saying. Silence doesn't mean avoidance. It means choosing to respond from a place of wisdom and compassion, rather than from the impulse of anger. As we continue on our journey of mindfulness and right speech, let us remember the impact our words can have. Words are not just sounds, they are energy. They carry the power to heal or harm, to create peace or conflict. When we speak from a place of calm and clarity, we contribute to the collective peace of the world. But when we speak in anger, we create ripples of hurt and discord. The next time anger rises within you, pause, reflect, and choose your words with care. Know that silence can sometimes be the most powerful response. By mastering our speech, we begin to master our emotions, and in doing so, we unlock a deeper sense of peace. Secrets and confessions, when sharing becomes a burden. There is something deeply human about the urge to share secrets. We all have moments in life when we feel the weight of a thought or experience that we just cannot carry alone. It's natural to seek someone to confide in, to lighten the load. Yet, have you ever stopped to wonder if sharing certain secrets with others truly brings relief, or does it simply create more weight in our hearts? In Buddhism, there's a concept known as right speech, which encourages us to be mindful of the words we speak, not just because of their potential to harm, but because of their ability to create entanglements. When we share too much, when we confess our deepest secrets to others, we often unknowingly set ourselves up for emotional entanglements. We place our burdens on others, expecting them to bear the weight with us. But in doing so, we may unintentionally create unnecessary emotional attachments or complications. Think of a time when you shared a personal secret with someone. Perhaps you felt a sense of relief in that moment, but later you found that the secret had a way of lingering. Maybe it affected the way the other person viewed you, or even the way you viewed yourself. The simple act of sharing can sometimes lead to feelings of vulnerability, confusion, or regret. In many cases, it's not the act of sharing that harms us, but the emotional attachment we form through those confessions. When we reveal a secret, we invite others into our inner world. This can be beautiful when shared with someone who respects the trust you've placed in them. However, too often, people reveal their secrets with the hope of receiving validation, sympathy, or relief. And in doing so, they may create an unhealthy bond, one that ties their sense of self-worth to the opinions of others. In the teachings of the Buddha, there is a gentle reminder that not everything needs to be spoken aloud. Sometimes, silence could be the best answer, not because we are hiding or avoiding, but because we recognize that certain things are meant for our own reflection, our own understanding, and our own healing. There is a deep wisdom in holding space for ourselves, in knowing that the greatest source of healing comes from within. When we share our innermost thoughts with others, we often give away a part of ourselves that we can never reclaim. The more we share, the more we open ourselves to judgment, and the more we become entangled in the emotions and opinions of others. But, you may ask, isn't it important to connect with others? Isn't it essential to build relationships by sharing? Absolutely. Connection is one of the most precious aspects of life. However, the kind of connection that sustains us is not one based on secrets and confessions. True connection comes when we share from a place of balance, when we express ourselves openly but wisely, without expectation or attachment. Imagine this. If you keep giving away pieces of yourself through secrets, what will be left for you? How will you feel when you realize that you've shared too much, too often, and now there's very little left to hold on to? It's a frightening thought, isn't it? When we confess too much, we risk losing a part of our own sense of identity. In Buddhism, this concept is tied to the idea of detachment, not in the sense of withdrawing from relationships or emotions, but in cultivating the wisdom to understand when to share and when to remain silent. Detachment is not about avoiding connections or emotions. It's about finding peace and letting go of unnecessary burdens. Sometimes, we need to keep certain things to ourselves, not out of fear or shame, but out of respect for our own inner peace. There are moments in life when it's perfectly okay to keep things private. There are thoughts, feelings, and experiences that, when shared too freely, become burdens instead of sources of strength. When you hold a secret, it can weigh on your heart, but when you share it too widely, it can become a burden for others as well. This is the delicate balance we must strike. Let us consider the example of a pebble in a pond. When a pebble is dropped, it creates ripples that spread outward. A secret, when shared, creates similar ripples. The effects of those ripples may not be immediate, but they spread. Once a secret is out, it is no longer yours to control. Even if the person you've confided in promises to keep it, The mere act of sharing, it creates a web of connection that can't easily be undone. The Buddhist practice of mindfulness teaches us to observe our thoughts and words before we act on them. This practice doesn't mean we shouldn't share our feelings, but rather that we should be more mindful of how, when, and why we share. If we constantly share our deepest secrets in an attempt to gain sympathy or validation, we may be using others to fill a void within ourselves. A void that can only truly be filled through self-awareness and inner peace. To live a life of wisdom, it's important to recognize the power of our words. When you speak, ask yourself, is this something that needs to be shared? Is this something that will help me grow? Or is it just a temporary release of pressure? Will sharing this create unnecessary entanglements or cause harm to myself or others? It's not that secrets are inherently bad. In fact, there's a time and place for sharing our struggles, our dreams, and our fears. But there is also wisdom in knowing when to remain silent, when to keep something for ourselves, and when to reflect privately. In the silence, we often find clarity. We find the space to understand our true emotions, free from the influence or judgment of others. So, ask yourself, what is the true purpose of your sharing? Are you seeking genuine connection and understanding, or are you looking for validation from others? It is in this distinction that we find the path to true freedom. When we learn to be mindful of the secrets we share and the confessions we make, we begin to honor ourselves and others in a way that fosters deeper, more meaningful connections. Remember, in Buddhism, wisdom is not just about knowing what to say, but also knowing when to remain silent. It is about recognizing the sacredness of your own thoughts and emotions, and understanding that not every thought needs to be expressed. The most powerful words are often the ones left unsaid, for they hold the potential to cultivate inner peace and understanding. So, next time you feel the urge to share a secret, pause for a moment. Reflect. Ask yourself, is this something that will help me, or is it simply a burden I'm placing on someone else? And, most importantly, consider whether silence might be the answer, a silence that allows you to truly understand your thoughts and find peace within yourself. Criticizing others, the hidden damage of judgmental speech. Imagine you're walking through a peaceful garden where every step feels light and the air is filled with calm. You notice a flower that has not bloomed fully yet. Instead of appreciating its journey, you start criticizing it for not being perfect. You point out how it's not as vibrant or as beautiful as other flowers. But in doing so, you forget the simple truth. Every flower is blooming in its own time. When we speak critically of others, it's like pointing out flaws in the flowers of life. We focus on what's wrong, what's lacking, and what could be better, rather than embracing the beauty in what is. Criticizing others comes from a place of judgment, and judgment is often rooted in our own insecurities. We see in others what we fear in ourselves, but the damage it does goes beyond the person we're criticizing. In Buddhism, we learn that our words carry energy. When we criticize someone, we're not only sending negative energy toward them, but we are also inviting negativity into our own hearts. The act of criticism reinforces the belief that something is wrong, that imperfection is unacceptable. But if we look deeper, we see that imperfection is the very nature of life. No person, no situation is without flaw. It is the presence of these imperfections that makes life rich, complex, and full of growth. Criticizing others often stems from the belief that we are somehow superior or more enlightened. We assume that we have the right to judge another person's actions, behavior, or appearance. But in reality, this judgment is not only harmful to others, it's also a reflection of our own inner struggles. When we criticize, we are also criticizing ourselves. We are projecting our dissatisfaction onto the world, expecting others to meet an ideal that we, too, fall short of. Think about the last time you criticized someone. How did it make you feel afterward? Likely, it didn't bring you peace. It didn't make you feel superior or uplifted. Instead, you may have felt a sense of discomfort, or perhaps a lingering feeling of guilt. Criticism does not foster peace. neither for the person being criticized nor for the one doing the criticizing. It only deepens the divide between us, feeding the illusion of separation. Criticism is also a form of attachment. We become attached to the idea of perfection, and when we see imperfection, we feel compelled to point it out. But in doing so, we miss the bigger picture. We lose sight of the fact that every person is on their own journey, with their own lessons to learn. Just as we are all works in progress, so too are others. Every individual is walking their own path, growing in their own time. The Buddhist practice of right speech calls us to speak with kindness, compassion, and mindfulness. Rather than focusing on what is wrong, we are encouraged to focus on what is right, what is beautiful, what is worthy of praise. This doesn't mean we ignore flaws, but we choose to address them in a way that uplifts rather than tears down. Constructive feedback, given with compassion, can lead to growth. But criticism, given with judgment, only serves to harm. One of the core teachings of Buddhism is to cultivate compassion for all beings, including ourselves. When we criticize others, we show a lack of compassion. We fail to recognize that they, too, are struggling. They, too, have their own challenges and weaknesses. Just as we would want others to show us understanding and kindness when we fall short, so too should we extend that same compassion to others. Consider how much kinder the world would be if we chose not to criticize, but to speak words that inspire, support, and encourage. Imagine how different our relationships would be if we saw others not as flawed, but as perfect in their imperfections. What if, instead of focusing on their mistakes, we acknowledged their strengths? What if we celebrated their progress, however small, instead of pointing out their shortcomings? Criticism also limits our ability to connect with others. When we criticize, we create a barrier between ourselves and the person we're speaking about. Instead of building a bridge of understanding, we erect a wall of judgment. This wall separates us, making it harder to truly see the person before us, to understand their struggles, their journey. It's only through connection that we can truly help one another, and that connection is built on trust and compassion, not criticism. Buddha taught that we should look within before casting judgment on others. When we judge someone, we are often projecting our own unresolved issues onto them. Maybe we criticize someone for being too selfish because, deep down, we fear that we are too selfless. Or maybe we criticize someone for their appearance because we are uncomfortable with our own body. These judgments reflect our own inner conflicts and can serve as reminders that we need to look within and heal ourselves. If we want to live a peaceful and harmonious life, we must let go of the need to criticize. This is not to say that we should ignore harmful behavior or unethical actions, but rather that we should approach these situations with wisdom and compassion. Instead of criticizing, we can offer guidance, share our perspective, and encourage change in a way that respects the other person's humanity. The act of speaking kindly and avoiding criticism has a profound effect on our own well-being. When we choose to speak words that uplift rather than tear down, we create a more peaceful and loving environment. We feel better about ourselves, and we foster positive relationships with those around us. The more we practice right speech, the more we cultivate inner peace and joy. By choosing to let go of judgment and criticism, we align ourselves with the wisdom of Buddhism. We recognize that every person is walking their own path, just as we are. We acknowledge that perfection is not the goal, but growth is. And in doing so, we begin to see the world and each other with clearer eyes, full of understanding and compassion. In this way, we can truly embody the teachings of Buddhism and transform our relationships and ourselves for the better. So, next time you feel the urge to criticize, pause and reflect. Ask yourself, is this really necessary? Will my words help this person grow, or will they only cause harm? If he cannot speak with kindness, then perhaps silence is the wisest choice. In the end, our words should be a reflection of the love, understanding, and peace we wish to see in the world. Words that divide. Wise spiritual speech should unite. In the peaceful flow of life, there are moments when we speak and moments when we remain silent. It is important to know that words, even if they come from a place of good intentions, can divide us if we are not careful with how we use them. Words can build bridges, yes, but they can also tear them down. Let us think of a simple conversation. Imagine you're talking with a friend, and suddenly, without meaning to, a disagreement starts. Maybe you say something that the other person doesn't agree with, or you make a comment that triggers them. Before you know it, a small disagreement has grown into something larger. A gap begins to form between you, and the bond of friendship starts to feel fragile. Words have a powerful effect on the relationships we hold dear. They can heal, but they can also wound. In Buddhism, the idea of right speech emphasizes that our words should lead to peace, not conflict. We are encouraged to speak truthfully, but also kindly, and in ways that foster connection and understanding. The Buddha himself often reminded his followers that the right way to speak is one that brings harmony, not division. But what happens when words divide us? When speech becomes sharp, when it turns judgmental, when it encourages us to see others as them instead of us, we stray from the path of peace. We all know the harm that can come from gossip, criticism, and harsh words. These things create barriers in our hearts, making it harder to connect with others. Instead of building bridges, we build walls. In a world where everything moves so fast, where people often feel misunderstood, it is easy to fall into the trap of speaking without thinking. We might feel the urge to express our opinion on everything, to make sure our voice is heard. But in doing so, we often fail to consider the impact our words will have on others. And yet, the words we speak have the power to change the course of a conversation and even the course of a relationship. Imagine a situation where someone says something negative, maybe about a group of people or a certain belief, and you feel that spark of disagreement inside you. You might want to jump in and correct them, to challenge what they said, or to make sure they understand your point of view. But in that moment, before responding, ask yourself, will my words bring us closer together, or will they push us further apart? It's important to recognize that not every disagreement needs to be voiced. Sometimes, silence can be more powerful than speaking. In moments where words might create division, it's better to hold back and offer understanding instead of fuel for further conflict. This is not to say that we should avoid speaking the truth, but rather that we should approach our words with mindfulness. It's easy to speak in a way that makes us feel justified, to point out the faults in others or the mistakes they've made. But every time we do that, we may be contributing to a cycle of division, a cycle that spreads negativity and feeds into the anger and frustration of those around us. And just as quickly, we become caught in it ourselves. The true power of speech comes when it is used to bring people together, to heal wounds, to offer compassion, and to encourage understanding. In Buddhism, this is the practice of right speech. Right speech doesn't just mean saying things that are true, it means saying them in a way that benefits others. It means offering words that soothe, words that unite, and words that bring peace. This is where the practice of mindfulness comes into play. Before we speak, we must pause and ask ourselves, will this word bring peace, or will it sow discord? We must also remember that sometimes the most healing thing we can do is listen. It's not always about what we say, but about how we allow others to speak. In many situations, people don't need advice or a solution. They need someone who will listen with an open heart, without judgment. The act of listening itself is an offering, a way of uniting with another person in a way that words alone cannot. There's also the question of how we speak about others when they are not present. How easy it is to talk behind someone's back, to share our frustrations, or to gossip about things that may not even be true. This is where words can truly harm, because they create divisions without the person even knowing it. Gossip and rumors break trust, and trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship. When we speak about others in a way that diminishes their character, even if we think it's harmless or deserved, we are unknowingly contributing to the destruction of the bond that ties us all together. But when we choose to speak well of others, to praise their strengths, to acknowledge their goodness, we create a space for unity. Our words become a force for peace. And in doing so, we not only uplift the other person, but also ourselves. For there is wisdom in knowing that when we speak with kindness, when we speak with understanding, we align ourselves with the principles of right speech, which ultimately brings harmony to our own hearts. So, as we go through life, let us remember that words are not just sounds or sentences strung together. They have the power to shape the world around us. We are constantly creating and breaking connections with the words we use. And while it is not always easy, we must strive to ensure that our words lead to unity, not division. In the end, the choice is ours. Will we speak in a way that divides? Or will we choose words that bring us closer together, that bring peace into the world? Each time we speak, we are offered the opportunity to choose wisely. And every time we choose unity over division, compassion over criticism, we contribute to a world where words heal rather than harm. In the silence of mindfulness, we find that the power of words, when used with wisdom, can truly bring us peace. Words that divide. Why spiritual speech should unite. In this world, we often forget how powerful our words truly are. Words can build bridges between people, but they can also tear them down. As we progress on our spiritual journey, it's essential to remember that the words we choose can either promote unity or create division. Every time we speak, we are planting seeds that can grow into understanding or into misunderstandings. The choice is ours. Think of a time when you spoke to someone in anger or frustration. Perhaps you didn't intend for it to be hurtful, but the words you chose created distance between you and that person. It's easy to fall into the trap of speaking without considering the effect it may have on others. But in Buddhism, we are taught that speech is not just a reflection of our thoughts. It is a reflection of our hearts. When we speak, we communicate more than just the words themselves. We communicate our emotions, our intentions, and our deeper beliefs. Now, imagine if, instead of speaking in anger, we chose to speak with compassion. What if, instead of criticizing or blaming, we took a moment to understand the person we were speaking to? Wouldn't that create a different atmosphere? A more peaceful, loving one? It's not always easy, especially when emotions are high or when we are feeling misunderstood. But the ability to pause before speaking, to take a moment to reflect on what we want to communicate, can change everything. Spiritual speech is about bringing people together, not driving them apart. When we speak with wisdom, kindness, and mindfulness, we create harmony. Our words can heal wounds, bridge gaps, and create understanding where there once was none. The Buddha spoke often about the power of speech, teaching us that our words should be guided by compassion, truth, and respect. In a world that is often filled with conflict and division, the ability to speak with love is a true act of spiritual strength. Consider the difference between speaking to someone with criticism and speaking to them with understanding. When we criticize, we only point out flaws, we focus on what is wrong. But when we speak with understanding, we seek to connect. We seek to understand where the other person is coming from. And in doing so, we create a space for healing and growth. Words spoken with understanding are the foundation of unity, while words of division only deepen the rift between us. One of the most profound teachings of Buddhism is the practice of right speech. It's not just about avoiding harmful words. It's about actively choosing words that promote peace, connection, and understanding. Right speech isn't just about being polite or politically correct. It's about being honest, but also being kind. It's about speaking with intention, with the goal of promoting harmony rather than conflict. But how do we practice this in everyday life? It's simple. Start by being mindful of what you say. Before speaking, ask yourself, is this kind? Is this true? Will it bring us closer together or drive us apart? This simple practice can make a world of difference. When we speak with care, we invite others into a space of mutual respect and understanding. We create a dialogue rather than a monologue. We build bridges rather than walls. When we speak in ways that divide, we contribute to the negative energy that already exists in the world. Words of hate, anger, and judgment only add fuel to the fire of conflict. But words of love, compassion, and wisdom can be like water, soothing the flames and creating a space for peace to flourish. Our words, when chosen wisely, can transform the world around us. Think about the people in your life, your friends, family, colleagues. How often do you speak to them in a way that promotes understanding and unity? How often do you speak in a way that brings about healing rather than hurt? The more we practice right speech, the more we become aware of the impact our words have on others. And the more we realize that, just like in Buddhism, every word we speak is an opportunity to create positive change. It's also important to remember that our words don't just affect the people we're speaking to, they also affect us. When we speak in a way that promotes unity, we feel at peace. But when we speak in a way that divides, we feel unsettled, disconnected, and often filled with regret. That inner discomfort is a sign that we are not in alignment with our true nature. Our true nature is one of love, compassion, and understanding. When we speak in a way that reflects these qualities, we feel whole. When we speak in a way that divides, we feel lost. As we grow in our spiritual journey, we begin to realize that the act of speaking is just as important as the act of listening. In Buddhism, there's a saying, "When you speak, speak with the intention of benefiting others." This is the essence of spiritual speech. It's not about being right or proving a point. It's about connecting, understanding, and supporting one another. It's about using our words as a tool for healing, not hurting. In a world filled with distractions, arguments, and misunderstandings, the practice of right speech becomes even more important. It's easy to get caught up in the noise, to speak without thinking, and to contribute to the negativity around us. But the true power of speech lies in its ability to bring people together, to build bridges, and to create harmony. When we speak from a place of love, we invite others to do the same. As we finish this reflection, let's remember, every word we speak is an opportunity to create peace, to foster understanding, and to build a world where people are not divided by their differences, but united in their shared humanity. When we speak with wisdom and compassion, we not only change the lives of those around us, we change our own lives as well. Our words are a reflection of our inner world. So, let's choose to speak in a way that reflects the love, peace, and unity we wish to see in the world. Sacred silence, practicing right speech in daily life. As we continue to explore the power of our words, we must take a step back and understand what it truly means to practice right speech in our daily lives. The teachings of Buddhism have always emphasized the importance of silence and mindfulness in our communication. It is not simply about what we say, but also how we choose to say it, and when we decide that silence is the most powerful option. Imagine a world where everyone spoke only when necessary, where words were not wasted, but were carefully chosen, filled with meaning, compassion, and understanding. It may seem like an impossible ideal, but it is something we can all strive for, one small conversation at a time. Every word we speak has the potential to either create peace or stir up conflict. In our everyday interactions, we often let our emotions guide our speech. Whether we are angry, frustrated, or excited, these emotions can cloud our judgment and lead us to say things we might regret later. But true peace comes not from the constant flow of words, but from the stillness that silence can bring. In Buddhism, the concept of noble silence is central. This is not just the absence of sound, but a conscious choice to refrain from speaking unless it serves a higher purpose. Silence, in this context, is a form of wisdom. It is the space where we allow our thoughts to settle and clarity to emerge. When we practice noble silence, we are not withdrawing from the world, but rather engaging with it in a deeper, more meaningful way. But how does this apply to our everyday lives? How do we begin to practice right speech, especially when the world around us is so noisy and filled with distractions? The answer lies in mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in each moment, aware of our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. When we are mindful of our speech, we become more aware of the impact our words can have on others. For instance, think of a time when you were about to say something harsh to someone, perhaps out of frustration or anger. In that moment, you have a choice. You can either speak those words and risk causing harm, or you can choose silence. In that silence, you give yourself the space to reflect, to reconsider your words, and to decide whether they will bring peace or conflict. This moment of pause is incredibly powerful. It allows us to align our speech with our values, to speak with kindness and understanding rather than with haste or impulse. In Buddhist teachings, speech is one of the three aspects of right conduct, which also includes right action and right livelihood. Right speech is not just about avoiding harmful words, but about cultivating speech that is truthful, kind, and helpful. It is speech that uplifts others, rather than tearing them down. It is speech that brings harmony, rather than division. In this way, we are not only protecting others from the harm of negative words, but we are also protecting ourselves from the emotional consequences of speaking without thought. One of the most profound lessons in Buddhism is the understanding that our words create our reality. What we say, both to others and to ourselves, shapes our world. If we are constantly speaking words of anger, judgment, or negativity, we are reinforcing a world of conflict and suffering. But if we speak words of compassion, kindness, and understanding, we create a world of peace and harmony. This is why silence is so important. In silence, we have the opportunity to break free from the patterns of harmful speech that often dominate our lives. Silence is not just about holding our tongue. It is about creating space within ourselves to reflect and connect with the deeper truth of our being. It is in this space of stillness that we can hear the whispers of wisdom, that we can find the clarity we need to speak in a way that reflects our highest self. But silence does not mean passivity. It does not mean avoiding difficult conversations or staying silent when we need to speak up. It means choosing our words carefully, speaking when it matters, and knowing when silence is the best response. Silence can be a powerful form of communication. Sometimes, not speaking is the most profound way we can express our understanding, our compassion, or our wisdom. Consider the example of a Zen master. A Zen master does not speak often, but when they do, their words carry great weight. Their silence is not empty. It is filled with meaning. Every word they speak is deliberate, chosen with care and purpose. In this way, the Zen master embodies the principle of right speech, using words only when they're needed to guide, to heal, or to teach. In our own lives, we can cultivate this same mindfulness in our speech. We can begin by asking ourselves, is what I am about to say true? Is it kind? Is it helpful? These simple questions can guide us in choosing words that reflect our inner peace and wisdom. If we are unsure, it is often better to remain silent. Silence is not weakness, but strength. It is the strength to control our impulses, to reflect before speaking, and to choose words that contribute to the greater good. One of the greatest challenges in practicing right speech is learning to be silent when we are tempted to speak in anger or frustration. It is easy to let our emotions dictate our words, but when we do, we often regret the things we have said. By practicing silence in these moments, we can prevent harm and preserve our peace of mind. In this way, silence becomes a tool for emotional mastery. It is not about suppressing our feelings, but about giving ourselves the time and space to process them before speaking. In a world that is often noisy and fast-paced, practicing right speech may seem like a challenge, but the benefits are profound. When we speak with mindfulness and intention, we create a ripple effect of peace and understanding. Our words become a source of healing and connection, rather than division and conflict. In the end, practicing sacred silence and right speech is about aligning our words with our true nature. It is about becoming aware of the power we hold in our speech and using it wisely. When we speak from a place of inner calm and clarity, our words have the power to transform not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. And through this practice, we can cultivate a world where words are no longer a source of harm, but a source of healing, peace, and understanding. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, take a moment to pause and reflect. Ask yourself, what am I about to say, and why am I saying it? In that moment of silence, you may find the clarity and wisdom you need to speak with intention, compassion, and truth. And in doing so, you will be practicing one of the highest forms of mindfulness and contributing to a more peaceful, harmonious world. The final reflection: transforming speech into wisdom. As we come to the end of this journey, let's take a moment to reflect on what we have learned. Throughout this series, we have spoken about the power of silence, the dangers of harmful words, and how speaking with intention can shape our lives for the better. Now we arrive at a deeper understanding: the importance of transforming our speech into a tool of wisdom, compassion, and peace. Imagine for a moment, you are sitting quietly in a peaceful room. There are no distractions, no noise, only the gentle rhythm of your breath. In this moment, you realize something profound. The words you speak are not just sounds or sentences. They carry the energy of your mind, the depth of your heart. When you speak, you're sharing a piece of your soul with the world. This understanding is at the heart of Buddhist teachings on right speech. It's not simply about avoiding harmful words. It's about cultivating speech that reflects your inner peace, wisdom, and kindness. Right speech is not just a set of rules to follow. It is an expression of your awareness, your mindfulness, your understanding of the interconnectedness of all beings. Think about the words you speak each day. How often are they filled with judgment, frustration, or negativity? How often do you find yourself speaking out of habit, without truly considering the impact your words might have on others? We've all been there. It's easy to get caught up in the daily chatter of life, to speak without thinking, to let our emotions guide our words. But every word we speak is an opportunity to build, to connect, to uplift, or to tear down. Buddhism teaches us that right speech is one of the essential practices for creating harmony in our relationships and within ourselves. It is about being mindful of the energy behind our words. When we speak with awareness, we are able to communicate in a way that reflects our true nature, a nature that is peaceful, loving, and wise. Have you ever experienced a conversation where the words were so kind, so filled with understanding, that it left you feeling lighter, more at peace? That's the power of speech when it is transformed by wisdom. On the other hand, think about a time when words were harsh, when they wounded, when they left scars on your heart. That is the danger of speech that comes from a place of anger, fear, or ego. So, what does it mean to transform our speech into wisdom? It means choosing our words carefully, being aware of the impact they will have on others. It means speaking with kindness, with compassion, and with the intention to heal rather than harm. It means letting go of the need to prove ourselves, to dominate conversations, or to make others feel small. When we speak from a place of wisdom, our words become a reflection of our inner peace, and they create harmony in the world around us. At this point, you may be wondering, how do I begin this practice in my own life? The answer lies in mindfulness. Take a moment before you speak. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, is this word necessary? Is it kind? Will it help or hurt? Is it coming from a place of love or fear? This simple practice can transform not only your speech, but also your relationships and your entire life. But mindfulness in speech is not just about choosing the right words. It's also about listening. True wisdom is not just in what we say, but in how we listen. When we listen deeply, we are able to understand others more clearly, to respond with empathy, and to communicate in a way that builds trust and connection. Right speech is a two-way street. It is about speaking with awareness and listening with an open heart. It's important to remember that transformation takes time. It's not about being perfect. It's about becoming more aware of our habits and gradually shifting them towards greater compassion and mindfulness. Every time we choose to speak with kindness, every time we pause before reacting, we are taking a step closer to wisdom. But this transformation does not happen overnight. Just as the Buddha taught that the path to enlightenment is a gradual journey, so too is the path to right speech. It requires patience, practice, and a willingness to look at ourselves honestly. Sometimes we may slip up. We may speak in anger, frustration, or ignorance. But when we recognize this, we can make a conscious choice to do better next time. This is the essence of growth. learning from our mistakes, and using them as opportunities to deepen our understanding. Over time, you will notice something incredible happening. As you speak with more awareness, you will begin to notice a shift in how others respond to you. People will start to appreciate your words more, not just because of what you say, but because of the energy behind them. Your speech will no longer be just a series of words. It will become an expression of your deeper wisdom and compassion. And as this happens, you will also feel a deep sense of peace and contentment within yourself. Right speech, when practiced consistently, has the power to transform the relationships, your work, and your life. It can help you connect with others on a deeper level, fostering understanding and harmony. It can bring you closer to the truth of who you are, as you speak from a place of inner peace and wisdom. But perhaps the greatest gift of transforming your speech is the peace you will find within yourself. When we stop speaking from a place of ego, fear, or anger, we free ourselves from the chains of negative emotions. Our words no longer control us. Instead, we control our words. This inner peace is the foundation for true happiness and fulfillment. As we end this series, remember that the path to right speech is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about choosing to speak with mindfulness, with love, and with the intention to uplift others. It's about transforming your words into tools of wisdom, compassion, and peace. And in doing so, you will create a life that is not only more peaceful, but also more connected to the truth of who you really are. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope these reflections on speech have inspired you to be more mindful in your own life, to choose your words with care, and to cultivate a deeper sense of peace within yourself. May your speech be a reflection of your inner wisdom, and may it bring peace, healing, and love to the world around you.